Hello students, welcome to the course on analog and digital communication systems, and the course code is EC501. This is the course for BTech 5th semester EC students. Myself, Dr. Shurojit Bosak, who is the course coordinator, is an assistant professor of EC department, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata. And my official email address is shurojit.boshak@gnit.ac.in. So let us start lecture number 6 from the fourth module, signal vector representation. Actually, this module consists of two chapters. One is signal space analysis, which I already covered, and the second chapter is ISI or inter-symbol interference. And already I have completed the first lecture of inter-symbol interference. So, let us start the second lecture of inter-symbol interference, or abbreviated as ISI, and whose lesson objective is study the effects of inter-symbol interference and compare I pattern analysis. And this portion is mapped with the CO number 2 and CO number 4. So before we start the today's topic, let us give you a brief recapitulation of the last lecture. That is, what is ISI, how it can be generated. Actually, when a digital data in the form of, say, unipolar or polar energy, whatever be the form, when the data is transmitted over a transmission system, say the data here whose bit duration is TB is transmitted over a transmission system, then after the transmission system, the signal is dispersed, the output signal is dispersed due to differential delayed, or better to say differentially attenuated the signal. So the bit duration of the output signal is naturally longer than TB. See here, for the case of data 1, when binary 1 is transmitted, say in the case of polar energy form, then the data is after the transmission system, the data or channel output is dispersed. So pulse width is longer than TB. Similarly, for the case of 0, again the pulse width is longer than TB. Now, when a sequence of pulses are transmitted over the transmission system or transmission channel, then every pulse is dispersed. See the example. Say 1, 1, 2 pulses are transmitted, and these 2, 1 are dispersed after the transmission channel. So some portions are overlapped with each other, these portions, and that portion is called inter-symbol interference, or it is abbreviated as ISI. So this is the physical reason why ISI can occur. Now move for the mathematical calculation. When a pulse, this is a simple binary baseband transmission. When a pulse, the binary data is transmitted, and we get from here a discrete PAMP signal, xt. Then it goes to the some filter, and then channel where noise is added. White, we assume that noise is white Gaussian noise. And after the receiving filter, the signal is white t, which is sampled at sampling time t equal to tb, and which is denoted as y1t. Now, after that, a decision device is present where a threshold is provided. If the signal amplitude is higher than the threshold value, then the decision taken in favor of binary symbol 1. And if the signal amplitude is lower than threshold, then the decision taken in favor of binary symbol 0. Now, what is the, let us directly come to the y1t, or after sampling, what is the mathematical expression? So after sampling, the output signal is say YTI. If the signal is sampled at Ti equal to ith TB, then two types of signals are comes. One is mu into AI, where mu is the scaling factor and AI or AK, whatever be the actually the coefficient, signal coefficient, and plus the second part, that is the mu into summation of k equal to minus infinity to plus infinity AK PITB minus KTB plus NTI. NTI is the additive noise, where k not equal to I. So this term comes due to k equal to I, and this is the our actually desired term. This term is produced by the ith transmitted bit. Theoretically, only this term should be present, but practically not. But practically, second part is also present, which is actually the residual effect of all the transmitted bits. And this portion is called basically inter-symbol interference, or ISI. So due to this residual effect of all other transmitted bits, we get the interference, which is called ISI. So this is the mathematical reason. That is why we get the ISI when the signal is transmitted over a transmission channel. Now the question is how to remove the ISI. The main problem is when the signal basically dispersed after the transmission medium, and we are transmitting basically a polar or unipolar, whatever. Basically it is a square pulse, square wave. So we should not transmit the square wave, as it is the dispersed after the transmission medium. So what would be the solution? The solution is, rather than transmitting square wave, if we transmit sync pulse, then there will be no ISI or zero ISI. And this pulse is called Nyquist pulse shaping, which is very much important. And the frequency response of this Nyquist pulse is square, rectangular. That means it has a flat response in the range and zero outside the band. So if we apply the sync pulse rather than a square wave in the input, then ISI can be zero. Now I will prove that. So let's start Nyquist criterion for distortionless baseband binary transmission. What is the Nyquist criteria for distortionless? That means whenever the ISI is zero. ISI is zero, that means only in the previous expression our desired is YTI is equal to mu into AI. It provides zero ISI. So this expression shows that under this condition, the ith transmitted bit can be decoded correctly. In order to minimize the effects of ISI, we have to design the transmitting and receiving filters properly. The transfer function of the channel and the shape of the transmitted pulses are generally specified. Therefore, it becomes the first step towards design of filters. From this information, we have to determine the transfer functions of the transmitting and receiving filter to reconstruct the transmitted data sequence BK. This is achieved by first extraction and then decoding the corresponding sequence of weights from the output YT equal to mu into AK, where summation over the k limit of the summation of limit is k equal to minus infinity to plus infinity AK P T minus KTB. Now this signal is first sampled. Extraction means basically the sampling. So the signal YT is sampled at T equal to ITB. Then we'll go for decoding. The decoding should be such that the contribution of the weighted pulse, that is AK P ITB minus KTB, for I equal to K be free from ISI. That is our desired. So that pulse should be 1, that is P ITB minus KTB should be 1 whenever I equal to K, and whenever I not equal to K, the residual effect should be 0. So that part is 0. Now if PT, that is the received pulse, satisfies this condition, then the receiver output is YTI equal to only the first term, our desired term. In that case, we can say that zero ISI, and obviously the calculations is in absence of noise. Now this is the time domain expression. Then the question is, what would be the frequency domain expression? So let us start discuss for the frequency domain representation. So let us consider that the sequence of samples is represented by PNTB after the process of extraction. Therefore, the frequency domain representation of PNTB is denoted by P delta F, which is equal to Fourier transform of PNTB, which is equal to RB into summation over n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity PF minus NRB, where RB is equal to 1 by TB, that is bit rate. Now P delta F also represents the Fourier transform of an infinite periodic sequence of unit impulses whose strengths are weighted by the respective sample values of PT. Therefore, P of delta F, according to the Fourier transform, P of delta F can be represented as minus infinity to plus infinity summation over m equal to minus infinity to plus infinity PMTB into delta T m minus TB. This is the signal part, and which is multiplied by e to the power minus j 2 pi ft and dt. So this is the sequence of unit impulses weighted by the respective sample values. Now let us consider m equal to I minus k. Now for if I equal to k, then m equal to 0. And if I not equal to k, then m not equal to 0. Therefore, considering m equal to 0, P delta F is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity, integration of minus infinity to plus infinity, P0 delta T e to the power minus j 2 pi ft dt. And by the shifting property, we can say that P of delta F equal to P0, which is 1. Then we can say from the just previous expression that this term RB into this summation term should be 1. See here, RB into this summation term, summation of P of F minus NRB equal to 1. So P of this summation term, P of F minus NRB equal to 1 by RB, which is TB. So this expression is called, this red marked expression is called Nyquist criteria for distortionless baseband transmission in absence of noise. This is very, very important for the students for the semester examination. Therefore, the left hand side of the above the expression actually represents a series of shifted spectrum, then what is the ideal solution? Now for n equal to 0, the left hand side corresponds to the PF and it represents a frequency function with the narrowest band. The range of frequencies for PF will extend from minus B0 to plus B0, where B0 corresponds to the half the bit rate RB by 2. Therefore, PF is equal to, that is the Fourier transform of the PT or PF, basically a rectangular function. So 1 by 2B0 rect F by 2B0. So this is the spectrum of a signal which produces 0 ISI. That is the rectangular pulse. Just I give the statement here, I prove that for a signal whose spectrum is a rectangular wave that produces 0 ISI, and the signal PT is basically the inverse Fourier transform of PF, or better to say inverse Fourier transform of a rectangular function, that is basically a sinc pulse, sinc of 2B0T. So this waveform is a sinc pulse. So this sinc pulse, if I apply a sinc pulse in the input of the transmission system, rather than transmitting energetic unipolar or polar pattern, or better to say square wave, then ISI is 0, because from at the output we get basically the spectrum, we get the rectangular shape. It is not dispersed. So that is why we get 0 ISI, or better to say the pulses will not interfere with each other. Now what is the advantages of using these sinc pulses? Bandwidth requirement is reduced and ISI is reduced to 0. But this ideal solution again have some difficulties. What are the difficulties? The first difficulty is that it is necessary that the amplitude characteristics of PF should be flat from minus B0 to plus B0 and 0 outside this band. But abrupt transition at plus minus B0 is not physically realizable. So this is the first difficulty. And the second difficulty is due to discontinuity of PF at plus minus B0, there is practically no margin of errors in sampling times at the receiver end. So these two difficulties are present if we apply the sinc pulse. Then what is the solution? Then the solution is raised cosine spectrum. the two difficulties experienced by the ideal Nyquist channel can be overcome by increasing the bandwidth from its minimum value B0, that is RB by 2, to an adjustable value between B0 and 2B0. That is summation of r n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity PF minus NRB equal to 1 by RB, or which is same as TB. So the expanding the summation part in the left hand side, we get this term is for n equal to 0, n equal to minus 1, n equal to this term is for n equal to plus 1, and this term is for n equal to 2, and dot 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 the other term are present. And B0, but we know that B0 is equal to RB by 2, therefore RB is equal to 2B0. Therefore, just replace the RB with 2B0 in this expression. We get P of F plus 2B0, PF, P of F minus 2B0 plus P of F minus 4B0, and TB basically 1 by RB, so it is basically 1 by 2B0. Now we retain only the three terms on LHS left hand side, which corresponds to n equal to minus 1, n equal to 0, and n equal to 1, and restrict the frequency band of interest to minus B0 to plus B0. And correspondingly, we get, if the first term is for n equal to minus 1, that is P of F plus 2B0, then PF for n equal to 0, and P of F minus 2B0, that is for n equal to 1, and which is 1 by 2B0. And where F belongs to minus B0 to plus B0. Now it is possible to devise several band limited functions which will satisfy the previous expression, that is the last expression, this expression. And one of them is called the raised cosine spectrum. This spectrum consists of a flat portion and a roll-up portion. The raised cosine spectrum actually we get by solving this expression. So the spectrum consists of the first 1 by 2B0 is a flat portion when F frequency is less than F1. And this is the roll-up portion, that is PF equal to 1 by 4B0, 1 plus cos pi into mod F minus F1, and in the denominator part 2B0 minus 2F1, where mod F belongs to F1 to 2B0 minus F1, and it is 0 outside the band, that is 2B0 minus F1, whenever mod F greater than or is equal to 2B0 minus F1. So the frequency F1 and the bandwidth B0 are related by a roll-up factor, which is denoted by alpha, equal to 1 minus f1 by b0. So alpha is called the roll-off factor, and for alpha equal to 0, that means f1 is same as b0. So we get the minimum bandwidth solution which is described earlier. So the transmission bandwidth Bt is equal to 2b0 minus f1, or b0 into, if we express this expression into the in the term alpha, then we can get b0 into 1 plus alpha. So this expression is very much important, and many numerical problems comes using this expression in your semester examination as well as in gate examination. And the concept of roll-off factor or the raised cosine spectrum is very, very important. So the first waveform, this waveform is the response of different roll-off factor alpha. I consider here 3 different values of alpha. So alpha equal to 0, that means flat portion. Now for alpha is equal to half, this residue, this signal, and for alpha equal to 1, see the dotted line represents the response for alpha equal to 1. So this is the actually the frequency domain representation. And in the case of time domain representation, that is, see here, the for alpha equal to 1, this first line, then for alpha equal to 0, and for alpha equal to 0.5. So alpha is equal to 0, it has the highest lobe, and whenever the value of the alpha is increasing, say 0.5 is the middle between, the amplitude is middle between alpha equal to 0 and alpha equal to 1, and for alpha equal to 1, it has a lowest amplitude. So the amplitude is decreased whenever the value of the alpha become increased. So this is the response of different roll-off factor alpha. Now the question is, how ISI can be observed? How we can observe or how we can measure the ISI? So ISI is basically can be observed in CRO. And whose pattern is basically is same as to our eye shape. So that is why it is called eye pattern. A new concept is called eye pattern. So eye pattern is a pattern displayed on the skin of a CRO. And the shape of this pattern resembles with the shape of the human eye. Therefore, it is called as eye pattern. So eye pattern is basically a practical way to study the ISI. In the CRO, there are two inputs channel are present. One is called say X input and other is called say Y input. In the Y input, we just connect it with the received digital signal and compare it with the X input, which is connected to a sawtooth waveform whose bit rate is 1 by TB. Then if we see the pattern in the CRO, it looks like a human eye. The interior region of the eye pattern is known as eye opening. So this is eye height or is same as eye opening. The eye pattern provides a great deal of information about the performance of the system. So better to, if eye opening or eye height is larger, then ISI is small or larger. Say, think about our eye. If we come in a dark room, then our eye opening is larger. That means whenever the eye height is large, becomes large, that means there is no ISI, and it becomes smaller if ISI is increased. And this is the interpretation of the eye pattern. What are the information obtained from this eye pattern? The width of the eye opening defines the time interval over which the received wave can be sampled without an error due to ISI. The best time for sampling is when the eye open is widest. The sensitivity of the system to the timing error is determined by the rate of closure of the eye as the sampling rate is varied. The height of eye opening at a specified sampling time defines the margin over noise. That is the noise margin. When the third point is when the effect of ISI is severer, the eye is completely closed and it is impossible to avoid errors due to combined presence of ISI and noise in the system. Just I told you. So this is all about inter-symbol interference or eye pattern. Next, I am solving two numerical problems based on the concept of ISI. So the first problem is a communication channel of bandwidth 75 kilohertz is required to transmit binary data at a rate of 0.1 Mbps using raised cosine pulses. Determine the role of factor alpha. This problem is very much important, and these particular problems collected from GATE questions. So the communication channel bandwidth is given. And data rate already given for the raised cosine pulses. and determine the role of factor alpha. See, we know that the transmission bandwidth Bt is equal to B0 into 1 plus alpha. So using this expression, we can solve the problem. So first find out TB, where data rate is given, RB is given, that is 0.1 Mbps. So 0.1 into 10 to the power 6. So that is 10 to the power minus 5 second. And channel bandwidth is given, that is 75 kilohertz or 75 into 10 to the power 3 hertz. Therefore, we know that 1 plus alpha is equal to 2 FB into TB. Therefore, we easily know the value of FB and TB. So we can easily get the value of alpha, which is 0.5. Clear? Next, move for the second problem. Second problem. Here, it is a very interesting problem, and the concept of PCM is required to solve the problem. In a certain telemetry system, 8 message signals having 2 kilohertz bandwidth, each are time division multiplexed using a binary PCM system. The error in sampling amplitude cannot be greater than 1% of the peak amplitude. Then determine the minimum transmission bandwidth required if raised cosine pulses with Rayleigh factor alpha equal to 0.2 are used. The sampling rate must be at least 25% above the Nyquist rate. So therefore, this is a very much interesting problem where 8 message signals having 2 kilohertz bandwidth and each are time division multiplexed using a binary PCM technique. And the error of sampling amplitude cannot be greater than 1% of the peak amplitude. Then determine the minimum transmission bandwidth if we raised cosine pulses with Rayleigh factor alpha equal to 0.2 are used, and the sampling rate also given, that is 25%, at least 25% above the Nyquist rate. So we know that the maximum quantization error must be satisfied that Emax equal to delta by 2, or better to say MP by Q, that must be less than or equal to 0.01 MP. That is the number of quantization level Q. Therefore, must be greater than or is equal to 100. So in that case, we choose the minimum value is for Q equal to 128, just higher than the 100, the minimum value for number of quantization level. Because if we choose 2 to the power 6, that means it will be 64. So it is less than 100. So we have to choose the minimum value, that is the 2 to the power 7, 128. Therefore, the number of bits per sample is now 7. Since the Nyquist sampling rate is just 25%, so 2 FM is equal to 4,000 samples per second. That is the Nyquist sampling rate. Therefore, sampling rate for each signal is just 25% above the Nyquist rate. Why Nyquist sampling rate is 4000? Because we know that the bandwidth is 2 kilohertz. So Nyquist rate is twice FM. FM is 2 kilohertz. So 4000 samples per second, and the sampling rate is 25% higher than the Nyquist rate. So that is 1.25 into 4000. That is 5000 samples per second, which is the sampling frequency. And 8 message signal are time division multiplexed. So there are 8 time division multiplexed signals. So there are requiring a total of 8 into fs samples per second. So 8 into fs is 5000, so 40,000 samples per second. Now since each sample is encoded into 7 bits, therefore the resulting bit rate 1 by TB is 7 into 40,000. That is 280 kbps. Remember that it is in the form of kbps. Now we have to determine the minimum transmission bandwidth. FB is 1 plus alpha in the numerator part. Alpha is 0.2 by 2 into 1 by TB. That is RB is 280. 1 plus alpha RB into is equal to 2FB basically. So that part is 168 kilohertz. This problem is very much important for particularly the students who are interested in GATE exam. Okay. So this is all about ISI or intersymbol interference. So, okay. Now I am ending the session. Thank you. Thank you so much for your patience.